Once you have birth control and abortions and whatnot, now you can still satisfy the limbic instinct but not procreate. So we haven't yet evolved to deal with that because this is all fairly recent, the last 50 years or so for birth control. So I'm sort of worried that, hey, civilization, if we don't make enough people to at least sustain our numbers, perhaps increase a little bit, then civilization is going to crumble. There's the old question of will civilization end with a bang or a whimper?
Will civilization end with a bang or a whimper? That is Elon Musk freaking out about low birth rates, and he's blaming birth control for the low birth rates. Now, the high costs associated with raising kids in a country that offers absolutely no financial support could be a problem as well, but he doesn't get into that because, God forbid, we have a government that we pay through our taxes that works for us. We'll get to that in just a moment, John. But let's talk a little bit about weirdo rich people who are super concerned about whether or not we're banging it out and whether or not we're procreating enough. And look, to be sure, the way our economy is run, you need a workforce. And in order to have a workforce that replaces an aging workforce, you need to have kids. I get that. But if you're genuinely concerned about it, I don't know, how about incentivize having children by making it easier financially? Now, let's get back to the weirdos like Musk. This isn't the first time that Elon Musk has brought up this issue. He's made similar comments in the past, including what I'm about to read you. So Musk, who has had 10 children with 3 different women, told a business summit in December of 2021, if people don't have more children, civilization is going to crumble. Mark my words. He has described population collapse as the biggest danger to humanity, exceeding climate change, and warned that Japan, which has one of the lowest birth rates in the world, will eventually cease to exist. John, you are having a reaction to these concerns from Elon Musk. Share your concerns with me.
We have found something worse than the 2-decade-long effort that Fox News has engaged in to destroy everyone's faith in academia, science, expertise. That's worse. A fake replacement for it. There are actually people who are experts on these topics that do research and write books about this. Elon Musk does not. What he does do is he has a name that people know and he talks about a thing as if he understands it. There are so many things in that very brief audio that he clearly does not understand about this. First of all, we talked about this a little bit on TDR this morning. The idea that, well, we only had abortion and birth control now. I mean, it's only been 50 years that we've been able to satisfy the limbic instinct without reproducing. That's not true at all. There have been condoms for a long time. There have been things people take to induce miscarriage. There have been all sorts of things for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years that people have been using. The idea that Japan is going to cease to exist, he doesn't seem to understand that incentives change over time as situations change. The same sorts of changing incentives that are leading people in the modern era to want less kids, particularly as some areas become overpopulated, will change as incentives as the population falls, perhaps making them more likely to have more kids. He seems to think that once you turn, there's no going back. There's no reason to believe that. And there was no good follow-up question from Tucker Carlson. Anyway,
wow.
Whole thing frustrating.
Wow, there was no good follow-up question from Tucker Carlson.
No, Tucker Carlson just did this. As if what he was hearing was Socrates lecturing or something. You have a blithering idiot across from you. Ask a good question.
Okay, so look, Elon Musk is a goofball, but he's not the only person who is pretending to be very concerned about low birth rates. And who knows, maybe he genuinely is. I mean, he does have 10 freaking kids. 10 kids is a lot of kids. But anyway, there is a pro-natalism movement, okay, taking hold. They don't really have real solutions.
They like NATO, they want more countries to enter it, I get it.
Not NATOism.
Trump is gonna be pissed.
Natalism.
They don't pay their due,
Pro-NATOism, that's hilarious. Okay, so the core tenet, according to the Telegraph, which I think is anyway.
What?
Isn't the Telegraph tabloidy?
I mean, you can do profiles of these sorts of people in all sorts of different.
Yeah, and they've given quotes. So let's get to who these people are. So the core tenet is deceptively simple. Our future depends on having enough children, and yet life in developed countries has become hostile to this basic biological imperative. How has it become hostile? Are you kidding? I'm a woman, okay?
Well,
I'm a woman. And all I hear all day, every day is, are you gonna have kids? When are you gonna have kids? How come you guys don't have kids? You're married, right? You guys love each other. Why don't you have kids? Where are you gonna have kids? Where are you gonna have kids? You're gonna die alone. Have kids, have kids.
I was actually wondering.
Have kids, have kids, have kids.
I was gonna ask about
all day,
that.
every day. Like all day, every day.
Yeah.
My best friend's mother, who lives in Kentucky but visited like a few weeks ago, like the second she saw me, she's like, so are you guys gonna have kids?
I get it.
Okay, so
it's
like
people showing interest, but I understand it's
guys,
everybody constantly.
No, but like, don't show interest, because what you are asking someone is deeply personal and also creepy. Like, are you and your husband banging it out with protection?
And
or
when you
protection?
do you take off the protection?
Yeah, exactly. It's super creepy.
And then also, maybe they've been trying. Maybe they, not you, they. I mean, they, the person you're
that's a good
talking
point.
to. Maybe they've been trying for literally years. Maybe they've gone through a sequence of devastating miscarriages. Maybe you are unearthing unknowingly a traumatic experience for them.
By the way, and I love my best friend's mom. It's like, it's just
no,
an
I hate her.
example.
Never met her. Not a fan.
It's an example of what the culture is actually like, despite what these fools say.
Yeah,
so with
this
that
is
said,
the anti-natalism movement, by the way. The Telegraph should call you.
I'm part of the freedom movement, okay? And the freedom movement is make the choices that are right for you. Having children isn't right for everybody, okay?
I know.
And if you're genuinely concerned about people not having kids for whatever reason, you incentivize it by making society supportive toward people who want to have kids, not through rhetoric and discourse, but through policy. You get what I'm saying?
You trick them. You trick them psychologically with a book they won't ever read. Look, I don't know. It's to the extent that I agree with that statement that life has become hostile to it, I would say the economy has become increasingly hostile.
Yes.
Now, maybe that's a part of this movement. I don't know.
No, I have not seen that.
If it is, then respect, I guess.
So, look, mostly Silicon Valley people are part of this, right? Now, they
tend to be poor, right? If I remember correct, I think so. Okay, so they're probably thinking about that.
Not poor at all. But I do want to draw your attention to one couple, not in Silicon Valley, but in Pennsylvania. Okay, Simone and Malcolm Collins. They are also convinced of the merits of the pro-natalism movement and have taken it upon themselves to engage in this crusade to save the world by encouraging others to breed. Okay.
That's fine. They look lovely, they look happy, I guess.
In 2021,
Me too.
In 2021, I'm not gonna comment on how they look. I think that they should mind their own business. That's what I think. You know?
Okay.
They look happy. And anyway, but let me move on. So in 2021, they actually founded this group called pronatalist.org with $482,000 in funding from an Estonian tech billionaire named John Tallinn, who supports similar causes. So what I don't understand is while they are signing on to the pro-natalist movement, if you could even call it a movement, and while they received nearly $500,000 in funding to push this movement, or at least their portion of this movement, they admit that they have no solutions for the low birth rates. So how did you get paid? Like, why did you get paid? Why would anyone hand over $500,000 to you if you're like, what are you doing? Like, what's your point?
I can think of a few reasons that different groups that might be kind of dissimilar ideologically might want to support that. As I'm sure you're going to get into, there's obviously, I'm not saying they are, but historically there has been a fairly explicitly white supremacist train of thought
talk about
that leads to this. I'm sure that they have nothing to do with that, but sure.
Well, so there is a problem with the pro-natalist movement in that, the branding does bring up some pretty dark elements of the past, So falling birth rates are also, a common preoccupation of neo-Nazis, a little bit of a problem, and other ethno-nationalists who believe they are being outbred or replaced by other races. Also, a zeal for large families has often been accompanied by patriarchal gender politics. But they claim, no, we want nothing to do with any of that. Malcolm Collins, who's one of the pronatalists, says, people often compare our group to Handmaid's Tale-like thinking. And I'm like, excuse me, do you know what happens if we, the voluntary movement, fails? Cultures will eventually find a way to fix this. How horrifying those mechanisms are depends on whether or not our group finds an ethical way.
What in the hell?
That, I don't know. I just don't think that helped his cause much.
There's a much simpler answer to that, buddy. We're not the Handmaid's Tale because we want this to all be voluntary.
Yeah.
That's your answer.
That's your answer.
We don't want anyone to be enslaved and forced to give birth. And as far as I know, that is their position.
We want to take the nearly $500,000 that this Estonian tech billionaire handed over to us to lobby Congress to pass economic policies that are friendlier to individuals and families who want to have children. How about that?
Oh, that's not what they're, because that sounds good.
That would be great.
I like that.
That is not
Child
what they're
tax
saying.
credit
That
and
is not
such.
what they're saying. There's just, I don't understand.
I mean, for all I know, I would assume that they support that sort of thing because that would increase the odds. And by the way, not every group that's advocating for something has to take care of every bit of policy that paves the way. They might be trying to philosophically influence people in the hopes that those people will also pressure government. That's entirely possible.
They define themselves as politically conservative. So it gives you a sense of where they might stand on, social safety net programs and economic policies that redistribute the insane amount of wealth at the very top toward, ordinary people who might forego starting a family because of the astronomical costs associated with it.
Yeah.
If you are genuine, I don't want to hear from another wealthy person about oh my God, the falling birth rates. If you are a proponent of tax cuts, if you are a proponent of gutting our social safety net, you're not serious about your concern about birth rates falling.
Yeah, it's kind of, I'm not saying for them, but for a lot of conservatives who might, at face value agree with them, it's almost perfect what they're doing. So I don't know what they were talking about there with the cultures will find a way to figure this out, the mechanisms will be horrifying. I mean, I would say, well, it seems like that's what conservatives are trying to do in banning abortion and soon birth control and IVF and all that stuff, getting involved in all of it. So then you force a bunch of people who have already made clear that they don't want kids, and in many cases don't have the economic means to raise them, to have them anyway. So you get what you want. Now they're screwed. Their lives are gonna be significantly harder. How do you think that the kids that they're gonna be raising, they're gonna just be set up for success, obviously. That'll create all sorts of further economic and social issues that the right can then use to fearmonger and demonize those people for another few generations. So it's kind of like a closed economy of forcing people to have kids that will then produce the culture war fodder that they need.
It is kind of perfect when you think about it.
That's not on these pro-natalists. By the way, what the hell is with that name? We're told constantly that libs are bad at coming up with names for things. We're the baby boosters or something. Pro-natalist, that sounds like the position you use to knock up your partner. That doesn't sound like your philosophy or whatever.
All right.
Do something appealing. Put the word baby in it.
Our branding critic A-Team is here to share his disdain for the pro-natalist.
No, I can't do that. It hurts my back. That's what it sounds like to me.
Now, finally, I'm just gonna leave you with this last comment from basically Malcolm in regard to what they propose to do to increase the birth rates. What is to be done? Our solution is, we don't have a solution, he admits. He says the only things proven to increase birth rates are poverty and the oppression of women, which are bad and should be stamped out.
So that is, I'm assuming that's true. Generally, birth rates are higher in places where there's more poverty and where women don't have rights. You didn't need to bring it up though. I'm just spitballing here. We wind the clock back 200 years. No, wait, that would be bad, I guess. I'm not saying he believes that, but why do you keep bringing up these things that make you look crazy? There's a perfectly innocent answer to all of this, theoretically. You're going for the vaguely ominous one every time.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.